Oh my gosh. Alright, so when we played Alan Woke, we had a couple things we wanted to talk about. So first off, somebody said that the Tom the Poet movie poster was in the original Alan Wake. So, here's my Xbox 360 copy of Alan Wake, unpatched. Let's find out. Do I need to do this? No, of course not. Are we gonna do it anyway? Yes. We're gonna find out. Fuck it, we'll do it live. That's not plugged in. Sorry, Kate.
Bye. Looking at Buttercup Bandito's subscription, oh thank you. Notices it's tier 3, how dare you.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Oh, how dare you? Okay. No worries, we got this. No worries.
Stephen King once wrote that nightmares exist outside of logic, and there's little fun to be had in explanations. They're antithetical to the poetry of fear. In a horror story, the victim keeps asking why, but there can be no explanation, and there shouldn't be one. The unanswered mystery is what stays with us the longest, and it's what we'll remember in the end. My name is Alan Wake.
Aww.
I'm a writer.
Matt's so nice. I like how the intro to this is like, I'm Alan Wake, a writer. Here's this quote from Stephen King.
Imagination. But this dream unsettled me. It was wild.
I have a real sicko imagination.
Standards.
If you saw the things I imagined, you'd go crazy.
Following a typical nightmare pattern, I was late, desperately trying to reach my destination.
That's right. I'm a real freak. I dream about lighthouses and shit.
Driving too fast down a coastal road to get there.
You don't know what it's like in here.
I'd seen the hitchhiker too late.
Hold up there, Clive Barker. That's really who I think of when I think of Alan Wake, actually.
Since they put me in jail and I would never see Alice again.
I do be thinking Clive Barker.
Suddenly, his body was gone. I was in
Was
shock
that
from
Stephen
the crash.
King?
I could
I'm
hardly
Dean
stand.
Koontz. I'm glad they changed Alan's outfit for the sequel.
The radiator had broken when I hit the hitchhiker. The car wasn't going anywhere.
Because this one is not serving Koontz. I'm gonna be honest. Also, Jesus
Bye.
Christ.
Where do I
had to
even
go to the
start with you?
lighthouse. I knew there
You
was something
see,
important waiting
birds
for me
fly,
there.
fish swim, and brother, I blame people.
Blum people. Who wears a jacket with a hoodie? It's like a hoodie and a... No, there's a hoodie and then a blazer and then a jacket. Because there's like a green one. What the fuck? Yeah, because there's like the green blazer, gray jacket, black hoodie. Really bundled up, jeez. He isn't accustomed to the wet cold of the Pacific Northwest? He's from New York! It's not that much warmer.
Some people take layers very seriously, Bun.
Clearly. Maybe he is just a hipster. I feel like Heather Silent Hill 3 has a similar thing going on with her outfit, though. I think she also has like 5 layers or something. I think I know who this guy is. I'm gonna find out later. I'm gonna find out today. That's what I'm gonna do. He does have patches on his elbows, which I kind of dig.
Even recognize me, do you, Ryder? You think you're God? You think you can just make up stuff? Play with people's lives and kill them when you think it adds to the drama?
I like how they put a bucket there so that he can knock it over.
You're in this story now.
Yeah.
I'll make it
Good stuff. Did we start over? I'm looking at the original real quick. Okay, so the diver's still here. The QR code is replaced with circles? What are these circles for? What are these black and white circles?
You missed your deadline. Damn.
Ow.
You can't stop me.
Oh, well done. Try to dodge the attack now. Oh, okay, so you do it real early. Alright, cool.
I realized that the hitchhiker was a character from the story I'd been working on.
How does it feel to die by the hands of your own creation?
Kind of nostalgic, actually. Did the new one have this tutorial?
How
They
very nice
did,
of the
yeah.
monster to just stand there and yell things at you while you were busy exploring the scenery. Very poggers of them.
Oh my god, Alan's completely
Oh, no.
exhausted.
Hi, Bun.
Hey, Gnome, how you doing? I can't even sprint anymore. Oh no. Quick, Alan, just write I won onto paper and you can beat the game. Yeah!
Mr. Wake, it's me. Clay Stewart, remember?
Clay Stewart, of course. My favorite Alan Wake character, Clay Stewart.
Oh no! Stop!
He's in Alan Wake too, right?
Die!
Right?
No!
I don't know if this is even a character.
I was trapped. There was no way
Okay. So now we get to check out the post. Oh, okay. I see. I see
find
what's
the
going on
glorious
here.
absence of musical numbers in this game disturbing.
There's one. Don't worry. Okay. So, different poster. Yes. So, in the original, it's this Tom the Poet poster with the diving suit. We know Tom was a poet and a diver. And I think this is the cover of one of the books. It do look kind of like The Thing. That's a very The Thing ass poster too. Yeah. However, was he a holy diver? He was a holy diver. You've been down too long. And So in the remaster, they changed this into a movie poster called Tom the Poet, directed by Thomas Zane. So, interesting. Interesting. So between Alan Wake 1 and 2, they just like retcon Tom into a movie director, and that's weird. Neat. Weird. Mixed ramen hearts. Oh my goodness. Hello. Thank you for 41 months. I love that they can. Oh, they can. In canon. Oh, big time. In universe. Yeah.
I see that they went with the same naming conventions for that poster as Les Claypool does with any given Primus song.
I really liked Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, by the way, but I also didn't like that they kept updating the game to invalidate all of my character builds that I was enjoying. Tap and control AWE when Alan Wake talks to Scratch Tom. Yes. Yes. There's even a bit in the Alan Wake control DLC, and I'll get to it later, but okay. I'll get to it later, but they have Jessie remembering Tom and being like, movie director. Wasn't he like a poet or something? It's interesting. Is it Alan's version of Tom that's the poet? So, again, I'll get to it later in the game. We'll talk about the nature of Tom. But I think all Toms are written by Alan Wake, but all Alan Wakes are written by Tom. So... it's one of them loops. Brother, may I have some loops? Yes. Yes, you may. Red King's Dream? Don't think about it and it makes sense. See, when Alan's in the lake writing, he needs to write in like his own Deus Ex Machina and a light to help him out. So he writes Thomas Zane as a character who's there to like give him a gun and a flashlight and the clicker and everything as like a character to help him out to escape the darkness.
I was informed there would be loops here, preferably of the fruited variety.
But also, Tom Zane wrote Alan Wake to come to the cabin and defeat Barbara Jagger. Who, by the way, I want to talk about. I want to talk about real quick, because I saw a thing. It's on audiobooks with your voice. I could not. I really struggle to listen to my voice. I've been trying to do like some voice acting stuff, and all I hear is like the little mouth noises and clicks and all of that stuff, and it's all messed up and I hate it. But I'm working on it. I'll get better. Yeah. Oh. There we go. So, I saw that in Alan Wake 2, there is a 20-minute film in that game. It's just an experimental art piece. And it's great, and I love it. And it's all in Finnish. And all of the characters are credited in there, like Thomas Zane, but his name is in Finnish. Would you like to see what Barbara Jagger's name is in Finnish? Because I went and looked. Because Chai had this awesome idea that I should go and check. And I did. So this is Barbara Jagger's credited name in Finnish. And I also want to point out that Barbara Jagger, or Baba Jakala, is a old lady who gives you a key to her cabin on Cauldron Lake, and it's called the Bird's Leg Cabin. Which is a thing that I didn't point out earlier. For those of you who don't know, Baba Yaga is a character from Slavic folklore, who is a witch who lives in the woods inside a cabin that walks around on chicken legs. Yay. I think this is a reference. Widow of a book writer? Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the character she's playing. Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Baba Yaga is your new favorite cryptid.
She's very cool. Very cool. She's like evil sometimes, but also pretty cool. Pretty chill sometimes.
Happy to continue support in less than 3.
Oh, thank you, Usagi. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for 3 months. Name is literally Writer's Widow. No, it's these are the film credits, so it's Barbara Jagger as the Writer's Widow.
Every folkloric figure can be evil sometimes, as a treat.
That's just her character doesn't have a name. Okay, well, give me a sec, and I'm gonna switch over to my PlayStation. So that we can continue playing some Alan Woke. Let me go on break for just a sec. I'll be right back. There we are. Baba Yaga is neither good nor evil. She simply serves her own agenda, which sometimes involves eating people. And adding their bones to her fence. Yeah. She's pretty cool, though. She's pretty cool and based. Smell of Alfredo makes me nauseous. Oh, that's unfortunate. I like it quite a bit. I've hijacked your chat. It's mine now. Oh no. What are you gonna do with it? So, here's a thing. After messing around with the original a little bit, I gotta say, I don't like the Xbox 360 controller. It feels really imprecise. It's very mushy. I don't know, the buttons and the control sticks, they're very soft and mushy. I don't know. I don't know how to explain this.
Dang it, chat. Quit jacking the bun.
Previously on Alan Wake,
Quit it.
I came to Bright Falls with my wife, Alice.
Thank you for coming here with me.
My
I thought maybe you
wife.
could write here.
I don't want to hear it. God damn it, Alice.
Now, she's missing.
Alice? Alice?
I woke up behind the wheel of a crashed car. I'm missing a week. I was attacked by shadowy men straight from a nightmare. The sheriff took me to the lake Alice and I had stayed at. But the cabin had disappeared.
Bye, cabin.
Let's her lucky bun down.
Zarian, thank you for 11 months. Ash, thank you for 16 months. Oh my goodness.
Previously, on Alan Wallon.
Alan Wallon. A Quake. His face looks kind of weird here. I don't know.
Honey, I'm home.
Back here, sweet.
Do they actually say Alan Wake was physically abusive towards Alice, or was it just kind of he was a drunken asshole? He was not, as far as I know. As far as I remember, no, he wasn't, like, abusive. Alan Wake 2 goes a little further into explaining that their relationship was actually quite good. Like, for the most part, he was just very depressed.
How was it?
Worst weather I've ever seen.
You should put some coffee on. It'll warm you up.
Comfy. Oh, there's Parliament
For
Tower.
Sub Baby 2, a fun fact, this game introduced me to the band that would be the main namesake for my fursona.
Oh, Poets of the Fall. That's cute. I guess.
Coffee's on.
Great. Thanks.
Just slaps the coffee machine.
By tomorrow.
I hear a lot of people paint Alan way worse than he actually is. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's actually that bad. Where are you? Oh, you're gonna put the TV over there. But then all your couches are like perpendicular to the TV. Do you even have an outlet over there? I mean, I guess you'd have to. You got all the stereo stuff. How much money does he have with that kind of balcony and apartment? In New York, no less. This is like David Cage levels of ridiculous apartment. Also, I love my New York apartment where I have black and white photos of New York. You know what? His wife is a photographer. I'll bet she took these pictures. I'm the idiot. Never mind. Forget I even said it. Is Alan Wake bourgeois? Yes, actually, yes. Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Yeah, very.
This was a late goodbye. 13 years after I'd gotten my revenge,
Hey!
it had finally caught up with me. It had been a long time to bear the pain. My blood painted the snow red.
That's Max Payne's voice.
Gruesome slushy dissolved all the scattered painkillers and leisurely dripped down to the sewer, mingling with the bile of the city, becoming one with it. I can see them now. My wife and my baby. Honey, I'm home.
Yeah, sadly this guy passed away really recently. Huh.
It's true what they say about the fall and the sudden stop at the end. I'd lain here in the snow while the lurid chain of scenes that had led me here kept playing in my head. A rerun of my own private snuff movie. A memory of my corpse. Alone at my own wake. Thinking in metaphors again.
Awake!
The towel was gone. Only a sour taste remained of the kiss that killed me.
Awake? It's actually very good. This isn't bad, yeah. Like, Alan's writing here is pretty okay, actually.
Alan Wake.
Sam Lake is a pretty good writer. Alan Wake is torturous a little bit. He's got his moments, though. He's in his element with crime dramas, but once he starts trying to, like... branch out into more horror type stuff. Also, the size of his name compared to the size of the titles of the book. Oh my god. Oh god. What I Can't Forget, an Alex Casey thriller. Alex Casey. The Things That I Want. The Fall of Casey. And Return to Sender. Gotta make sure you can see his name on the standard def CRTs in 2010. True. But also there are writers who 100% do this. For sure. I think I've got a couple books that are like this. I've probably got more than a few. Oh, this is a pretty good bookshelf. Are these guns from Max Payne? Is that what those are supposed to be? These big fucking gold dualies?
45 is too many. Time, please.
Phoebe, thank you for 45. Thank you. Trying to read some of the books here, but a little bit tough and I can't really zoom in. I saw this without prior knowledge of the author. I would think that Alan Wake is the main character. He is in one of his later books. Alan apparently wrote a book called Departure, where he is the main character.
Oh, hey, I just finished those cover mock-ups. They're on your desk. Tell me what you think.
No kidding. I didn't think you'd get them done this quickly.
On occasion, I can perform all sorts of miracles, my dear.
Oh, really?
Well, you seemed to think so last night.
Heyo! Also, honey, could you make my name a little bigger? Could you make my name bigger, though? Is that Sam Lake? Or is that... Who are these... Who are these models? Is this the voice actor for Alan Wake? I'm very bad with faces. Just prints his name on the cover entirely. The guy who got to play him in the shorts? Maybe. So, like, Ilka Vili? I don't think I'm familiar. Is the same actor in 2? No. So, in 2, Blem, he's the likeness for Alan in 1 and 2. Okay, perfect. So, Alan Wake's voice actor is one guy, and then his face actor is a different guy. Plays Alan's body in 2 as well as Tom Zane. So he voices Tom Zane in 2, but Tom Zane's body actor, I believe, is the voice actor for Alan Wake. So they swapped them, I think. The voice actor for Alan Wake is also the voice and face of Dr. Casper Darling in Control. So, have fun with that info. Because, of course, why not?
These look really good.
I think my name could be
Sure,
bigger.
until Barry gets his hands on them, which, by the way, will happen over my dead body. The last time was the last time. Oh, and speaking of Barry, he called. Alan! Alan, please check the fuse box.
I'm right here. I'm on it, honey.
Please hurry.
It's the same body actor for both Alan and Tom, but Ilka uses his voice for Tom. Oh my god, it's fucking storming out. Goddamn thunder snow. Peretta voices Wake. Ilka Vili is the likeness of Alan and does the full performance for Zane in 2. Interesting. Okay.
I'm right here, baby.
I'm fine. Just get the lights back on. Now, please.
Just go to this big ass fuse box.
Honey, it's a power outage. I've got the flashlight.
Okay. Hi.
Don't
You
worry, I can
okay?
defeat the Taken with this.
I'm sorry. It just really spooked me.
Don't worry. We'll just break out the candles.
I know.
Oh, I like doing that.
But it's just, especially when I'm not prepared for it, you know? It gets to me.
I love you.
Tell me a story, writer.
Okay.
Imagine just having your fucking fuse box
I
open
used
like
to have
that.
these nightmares when I was a kid. The dark really spooked me too. When it got really bad, my mom gave me this old light switch. She called it the clicker.
So here's a thing. So is this Alan making the clicker? So no. This is not Alan making the clicker, because in order to make things, Alan needs to be in the lake. He can't make things unless he's in Cauldron Lake, right? However, it's interesting that we don't get this flashback until after he gets sucked into the lake. So it is my interpretation that this whole clicker thing is being added to Alan Wake's memories. So I think he's writing these flashbacks in 3 years later.
Yeah. If I ever got scared of the dark, I could just flip the switch and a magic light would scare the monsters away.
Oh, sure.
Here it is.
Alan.
Maybe it'll help you too.
Yeah, nice story, writer boy. You made that up right now, didn't you?
No. Seriously.
I love you, even if you are a liar. Thanks for this.
good old Xbox 360 ass kissing.
I've probably said this before, but Martti Suosalo, who plays Audie, is a pretty famous Finnish actor, but Control was his first international project. Some had to explain what BAFTA is to him when he won one.
Aww, that's adorable. Aww. So this is Alan being sweet. One. Very nice to see. I like it. This is a cute moment of their relationship, which is supposed to be presented as a good thing because Alice isn't so much a character in this first game as she is just a representation of Alan's muse, right? She's the thing that he needs to write and be creative. And you could replace her with anything else that he needs to do that, right? So if the flashbacks might be Alan writing flashbacks, does that mean the scene where he falls into the lake might also have been something he wrote? Because we only see that after he's already started writing the story. It's possible, but it's also necessary for him to be in the lake to make his writing come true, right? His writing doesn't start with... Okay, so his writing starts with a car crash, but the game starts with a dream sequence that is told to the audience that it is a dream. And then he wakes up, and we arrive in Bright Falls. We get the key from Barbara Jagger. We go to the lake. Alice gets pulled into the lake. Alan jumps in after her. And then when he wakes up after the car crash, a week later, that's where we start playing as the character Alan Wake as written by Alan Wake. It's interesting that the game puts this flashback during this part of the game instead of earlier, because it's possible that this flashback is written by Alan in the lake.
And then out of nowhere, Pyramid Head with the RKO.
What arm? Thank you for 20 month. Oh my goodness. So the first scene with the car crash was not being written by Alan. When he hit the hitchhiker, that was being dreamed by Alan, but it was not being written by Alan. So it was not strictly true. However, the car crash later was written by Alan.
How do you feel, Mr. Wake? Any nausea, disorientation, anything like that? Mr. Wake, how are you feeling?
You know, Brigham.
I'm okay. My head's fine. I had to lie about my headache and memory loss. He'd send me to a hospital for tests.
Yes, probably
I couldn't
Usagi.
leave without
Yeah.
Alice.
Very well. I don't think you have a concussion, but you've obviously been through quite a shock. You should take it easy for a couple of days.
Thanks.
Well then, Mr. Wake, we're done here. If the pain gets any worse or you experience any other symptoms, you should come see me. I'll let you get on with it then. Sarah, Sheriff Breaker, is waiting for you. She's very good at her job. I'm sure she can locate your wife in no time.
Doc Nelson was the image of a small-town doctor. Sheriff Breaker had called him to the station to take a look at the cut in my head.
So this is cute. Couple things going on here. I do like that the doctor was out fishing when he got called in. That's a cute little touch. And also the kind of thing you would see in Twin Peaks, which this room is 100% just stolen from. This table, this room, is where a bunch of Twin Peaks' sheriff's station scenes take place. Also, the cup of coffee here.
I believe you'll find the sheriff in her office. Just go down the corridor.
I'm sorry you had to cut your morning fishing short for this, Doc.
Oh, she's a beauty, ain't she? Not the biggest I ever caught, if you can believe that coming from an old fisherman like me, but she's right up there.
Yeah,
Now,
what's that, a
she's
perch?
a largemouth bass, which is
Bass,
what you're after
okay.
if you prefer a lure. Now, if you want
They're
either
usually
trout or
spikier than
salmon,
that.
on the other hand, then it's fly fishing for you.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
a fishing man, Mr. Wake? Oh, doesn't really matter, I suppose. But it can be very relaxing out there. You can't get me off the water this time of year. Closest thing to heaven.
I'll take your word for it, Doc.
It's where the best Albert scene happens. It's true. His philosophy is based in a foundation of love. I love Albert. Albert's probably one of my favorite Twin Peaks characters. He might be my favorite. It's like him and Denise and...
Good to go, Mr. Wake. Sarah's probably waiting for a chance to talk to you.
Yeah. Oh, there's Watery up there. So, want to point out a quick thing? Going to talk about this again in Alan Wake 2. But there's a town across from Bright Falls called Watery here. Sounds like a weird name for a town, right? It was settled by Finnish immigrants, and one of the locations in it is the Huottori well. So Watery is probably an anglicization of Huottori in
The
Finnish.
sheriff wanted to see you in her office.
Just a cute little thing. Watery's a real place? No kidding. Been practicing your pronunciation, and I'm no better at it. Amazing, isn't it? I'm not any better at it.
Thank you for testing the lights, Miss Weaver. Everything seems to be fine.
I don't have the luxury of being complacent, Deputy Grant. The bulbs will need changing soon. You can't change them in the dark.
I'll
The
be sure
sound.
to take care of it, Miss Weaver. Have a nice day now.
Very good. I'll come back later on to remind you, just in case.
Mr. Wake, the sheriff is waiting for you in her office
It
down
was
the
at this
corridor.
point that Bun had to apologize to all the Finnish members of his audience and beg for forgiveness.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like relaxing in the sauna. And sauna is just fun to say. I had a teacher who looked exactly like that old woman. That's cute.
That was Cynthia Weaver. I guess you can call her the town eccentric.
The voice that this lady's doing here a little bit is trying to be kind of like the receptionist at the sheriff station in Twin Peaks again. Doesn't really look like her in appearance, but her voice is kind of doing a similar thing.
She used to be the editor of the local newspaper, but she's focused on other things these days.
She'd fit right in where I come from.
As you can see, she's a little obsessed with maintaining the light bulbs of the whole town, refuses to step on shadows, things like that. Back in her day, she wrote about all sorts of weird things in the paper. Bright Falls has a colorful history. Of course, what small town hasn't?
Of course. It's okay if I mess around with your radio?
Yeah, it's Mulligan here. I'm at Stucky's gas station with Thornton. There's no sign of him. Over.
Wait. Yeah, this is Thornton. Look, we've located the parade float. It's here. That's some good news, right? Stucky was supposed to be driving it at the rehearsals today. Over.
Oh, give me that. Mulligan here. Looks like someone really thrashed the garage. Over.
Okay, roger that, guys. Keep looking for Stucky. Jane's out.
Mulligan and Thornton are in Alan Wake 2? Are those the guys from the beginning of Alan Wake 2?
The sheriff wants to see you in her office, Mr. Wake.
A missing cat. We gotta find this cat, though. On a camping trip, overdue, hasn't been in contact. If you've seen them or know their whereabouts, please call. These have to be real people. These are real guys. Devs for sure.
And this picture of a cat was taken from the famous Minwood from the Silent Hill
Come in,
games.
Mr. Wake. Your phone's on the desk. The battery was dead. It's charged now.
Oh, thanks. This little BlackBerry.
Have you started looking for my wife yet?
My men are already on it. Now, can you tell me what happened?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. We were arguing. I walked out of the cabin.
The cabin on Cauldron Lake? How did you end up
That's
at
the one.
Stucky's gas station?
I wanted to tell her what had happened last night, but I couldn't. She'd lock me up.
Just tell her,
Excuse me.
Alan.
I need to take this. Hello?
Alan, please help me.
Alice?
Stop talking to the law. You'll do exactly what I say if you ever want to see your wife.
Who is this?
Go to the back lot. There's a hole in the fence on the left. Look inside the junker. I left a little something there to convince you we're all on the same page here. After you ditch the cops, you're gonna meet me in Elderwood National Park. There's a spot called Lover's Peak. Midnight. Don't do nothing stupid, pal. We're watching you.
I need some fresh air. Can I go out? In the back, maybe?
Of course, Mr. Wake. I understand. You can get there through the cells. Deputy Grant can show you the way.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
thanks.
All of this, it's just a lot to take in.
Take your time, Mr. Wake. I understand. Can I ask you what the call was about, Mr. Wake?
It's personal.
Well, we are looking for your wife, and I'm going to need your cooperation if I'm going to help you.
I need a moment, after I get some fresh air.
Okay, you can find me here. We'll talk when you feel up to it.
A lot of questions.
How
I'm
much you
here
worry
to
that
hopefully
the
answer.
sheriff went through
Mr.
Alan's
Wake, can I
phone
help you
while
with
he was
anything?
away.
I need to get some air. The sheriff said I could go out back.
Of course.
Oh,
Mr.
probably,
Wake.
yeah.
You can get there through the cell corridor. Just don't mind Walter in there. He's one of our regulars.
I thought he quit drinking for good.
Oh, no such luck. He went on a bender and beat Danny pretty badly. He started shouting like that the moment he woke up.
Hey, mister! Hey, can you turn the lights on? The deputies, they don't understand. They won't listen to me. I needed to.
Why are you in the dark
right
anyway?
here.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you, man, thank you. Hey, you're alright. You're a good guy. Don't let anybody tell you different.
No, thanks. I love you too, buddy.
Being here, the cops, they got it all wrong. See, sure, I beat him up, but I wasn't drunk. I mean, I wasn't drunk at the time. I only got drunk afterward. Okay, listen. You gotta listen carefully now. Here's the kicker. That wasn't Danny. No, sir. It only looked like him. You wanna know who it really was? I'll tell you who it really was. It was a goddamn space alien! I know it sounds like something a drunk would say, but believe me, I wasn't drunk then.
The demons are literal potbelly aliens from outer space, alright? They taught us how to make the microchips. They're sacrificing 20 children a day to the aliens. It's the globalists. Okay, so, two things. So, both Alan Wake, you got it out of your system now? both Alan Wake and David Lynch are very interested in the ideas of doppelgangers, different people or things that look like the same thing.
I want to have sex with a green M&M.
Thank you, Tucker Carlson. Yeah. There's a lot of aspects of that in the Alan Wake games. Isn't that a thing Poe wrote about too? If I can remember my American poetry courses. Let me see. I'm not sure on that one. So that's one thing that we're going to see a little bit more of in this game. And another thing that appears in both David Lynch's work and Alan Wake is the idea that truth or like prophecy is revealed through dreams or imagination or free association. So in Twin Peaks, there are scenes where Agent Cooper is given information about the case through dreams, or will use free association techniques in order to divine some information about what to do next.
You know who really did good work on doppelgangers? COLAB 2021.
Yes. Yeah. The bottle scene is exactly what I'm thinking of. But first, we need to talk about Tibet. But yeah, so free association techniques and dreams and imagination and stuff like that. Don't worry, it only makes sense if it's a joke. It makes sense if you've seen Twin Peaks. Don't worry about it if you haven't. Do watch Twin Peaks though. It's quite good. So Alan Wake does something similar where a good amount of creativity comes from Alan Wake's. Like, we start out with a dream sequence. So we get information about the story and we get information about the story and Alan's writing and little prophetic information through the use of things like dreams and associations that we can make between seemingly unrelated things. This is also something that Jung was interested in, because Jung believed that creativity and imagination exists in the unconscious, and that the collective unconscious has ways of becoming known to the conscious world through dreams, free association, and active imagination, things like that. These are the ways that you can pull from a collective unconscious into the conscious world. So it's just kind of interesting. The manuscript page. The dark presence in the diner.
In spite of its human mask, to describe the dark presence as intelligent would have implied human qualities on something decidedly inhuman. Nonetheless, it found the one spot in the diner that was dark enough. Some light spilled into the corridor, ravaging it. But it took the pain. Horrible as it was, the writer would soon fix that. He would be coming to the one place where it still had power.
In a book, that would be foreshadowing, but that's already happened.
The morning light hurt my eyes and made my head ache. The man on the phone had said, "Go through the fence on the left."
Dang, look at these nice police cars. Not nice that they're police cars, but just like cars that are nice. I used to have a similar
caller
one.
told me to find a hole in the fence behind the police station. There was something for me in an abandoned car.
My first car was an 1988 Caprice Classic. Caprice was a really common cop car as well. Because it was big, it was steel, and it had a big giant V8 in it. No, it did not have a straw. There's another manuscript page over there. Hmm. Big boat on wheels. Hmm. Oh, there it is. Bam!
You gotta get a straw for that Capri, son.
Nah. Nah. I just grab that Capri Sun and just bite into the middle of it and then just start sucking it all out. I don't need no straw. I gotta respect the pouch. Hmm.
The kidnapper fired his gun one last time.
Capri Sun is the hot pocket of drinks.
For real. Lettuce, thank you for 5 months.
The kidnapper fired his gun one last time, and the shadow vanished into the darkness it had come from. See? Nothing to it, Wake. The thought of Alice in his hands was revolting. We stood on the wooden platform of Lover's Peak, the waterfall in the mountain behind us, the lights of the radio mast blinking red in the heights above. I fought with the urge to take a swing, force myself to speak. Let's cut the act now. Where's my wife?
My wife. And he fired, and he missed. This went on for several hours. Had myself a popsicle. Just don't take it into the sauna.
Alice's driver's license had been placed on the front seat. The caller meant business.
Barry?
Ow! Ow! Thank God! Where the hell have you been? I've been trying to reach you for a week, you and Alice. I've been worried sick. I flew out yesterday. I'm here in Bright Falls.
Barry, listen to me. I'm at the sheriff's station. Come and get me. I can't talk now.
Ow! What the hell is going on?
I had to get the sheriff to let me go. I needed to get to Elderwood National Park to meet Alice's kidnappers.
Elderwood National... But wait, how did you... Wait, what? Wait. When did they say that?
The kidnapper fired
Hang
his
on.
gun one last time.
What? Was that on the phone call?
Well, folks, it's been another long night, and it's about time for me to sign off for a while. God knows
Is Alan metagaming?
Just one more item before I go. It's been a busy night for the sheriff's department. We've had a few broken windows, even a report of shots fired on Main Street. Deputies Mulligan and Thornton had to deal with two intoxicated young men who were celebrating
Oh, it was on the phone call.
the
Okay.
completion of their Deerfest float. Now, folks, we get this every year. I know it's exciting that the big day's almost here.
People get crazy at Deerfest.
And leave the gunplay for the shooting competition.
Deerfest is wild.
Point in getting all worked up yet.
I am sick of discussions of no kink at Deerfest. I'm sick of it. Y'all need to just stop. Kink is allowed at Deerfest. Get your deer hoods.
Writer is a light that reveals the world of his story from darkness, shapes it from nothingness. The way a sculptor carves a statue from a block of granite. If I stop, the world I'm making dies. Darkness will reclaim it. It's a long, hard journey into the dark, Alice's life is at stake, but I can't think about that, or I'll lose it. The
The first Deer Fest was a riot. Damn.
lingers at the edge of perception. I'll push on. Anything is possible here. I'll write the story. I'll save her.
Marvelous, Sarah. I just wanted to settle all the damage the Anderson brothers might have inadvertently caused on their recent and regrettable little outing.
This guy.
They are not accountable for their actions, of course. I can assure you that my staff has been reprimanded.
Tor and Odin never caused any trouble to anyone when they were still living at their farm.
Indeed. All we can do is to slow down the progress of their dementia.
Are you feeling any better, Mr. Wake?
I'd like to leave. Am I free to go?
Well, we still need to talk about...
Am I under arrest?
No, of course not. But I need to know where you'll be staying so I can get in touch with you.
I'd avoid the motel. The Majestic is known for its roaches. The cabins at Elderwood are pretty nice, though.
That sounds perfect.
I'm Dr. Emil Hartman. I'd like to invite you to stay at Cauldron Lake
Hartman.
Lodge.
Did you talk to my wife?
I had the pleasure of discussing your situation with her on several occasions.
Did you set something up with her?
I invited her here. My clinic is a place where...
What the fuck, Alan?
Hey, nobody move. Get your hands off of my client.
Who are you?
I'm Barry Wheeler, his agent. If you have business with Mr. Wake, you talk to me. You yokels won't know what hit you once I sick my lawyers on your asses.
No harm done, Sarah. I'm all right. I don't want to press charges. Mr. Wake, my offer still stands.
Get me out of here.
What the hell was that about, Al? We don't need a replay of that thing with the paparazzi. I thought they were gonna lock you up.
I like his Hawaiian shirt.
I had to talk to someone. I told Barry everything. He thought I was certifiable, but when he heard about the manuscript, I had him. The fact that I'd written something, even if I couldn't remember it, was enough for him. He smelled money. And he believed that Alice had been kidnapped. Anything beyond that was another story. I had a midnight appointment with the kidnapper in a place called Lover's Peak, somewhere in Elderwood National Park. The plan was to rent a cabin.
I don't like it, Al. I don't like any of it. It's not good. In fact, it's the absolute opposite of good.
Mr. Wake! Barry, you found him!
Hi, Rose.
Oh, wow. I was just thinking about you, too.
Great.
I was just bringing Rusty some coffee. He's on the balcony, looking after Max. Poor thing. I really need to go. Great to see you again, Mr. Wake. Later!
Who's Max?
What?
What an airhead.
Jeez, Mr. Takes a swing at everybody. This is not her fault. She's a very nice girl and, more importantly, a fan. She even has a fan site dedicated to you. And she was very helpful when I was looking for you. Seriously, Al, what you were saying in the car? Just listen to yourself. What, you shot a guy and his body just disappeared? When was the last time you slept? What, are you high? Have you been drinking?
No! Look, Barry.
Barry.
I'm missing a week. And someone's got Alice.
Barry?
Do you
And everything's just...
understand what it sounds like when you say stuff like that?
What a mansion.
It's a good story, could be a bestseller. But when you start confusing fiction with reality, you're buying yourself a ticket to the funny farm.
Wait here.
I like this mammoth. It's pretty cute.
I'd come
Hey,
here
bastard,
to rent
how
a
you doing?
cabin where I could wait till midnight.
I don't know. This was 2010. I don't know if weed was legal here yet. Possibly. Hmm. This place is kind of cute. When did weed get legal? I'm not sure. Couldn't tell ya. Yo, big stuffer. They got big stuffers and gummy yummies. Damn. This place has got everything. Portland got legal in 2016. Maine itself was like 2018. Sounds about right. I forget, is Bright Falls Maine or
Oh crap,
Washington?
they got garlic and vinegar.
Is this Washington State? I might be wrong.
Easy there, boy. I'm almost done.
Hey, Rusty, right? You rent cabins.
Oh, Mr. Wake. I'd shake your hand, but mine are kind of full here. Actually, I'm sorry about this.
Aw, Bobby.
Would you mind grabbing the registration form from the desk? It's just across from Bucktooth Charlie.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sure. What happened?
Crazy poachers. Max here got his foot caught in a trap. They're illegal to use here. Hell, you're not supposed to hunt within the park at all. But that doesn't stop some lowlifes. Hell, at least Max is gonna be okay. He got lucky. Max is still groggy from the shot I gave him, and I'd rather not leave him alone just yet. The form's on the desk across from the
Al,
mammoth
you
skeleton.
can't just go and meet a kidnapper. Those situations always end up in disaster.
Yeah, don't worry about it, I got it.
Talk to the cops.
She's my wife, and it's my call. Can we talk about this later?
No, this whole thing. Listen, you hit your head. I mean, geez, Al, come on. You gotta understand how crazy all this sounds. If you're trying to pull a joke on me, freak me out, it's working.
Barry's a real one, though.
Barry. Well, you had me going there real funny, Al. You can quit it now.
We don't talk to cops, Barry.
Can we talk about this later? No.
No! Let me see. So, this game has already had some interesting implications with the ideas of light and dark. We watched a little movie earlier that said that, like, a writer shines light on the darkness to give it form, or whatever, right? In Jungian psychology, the place that creativity comes from is the shadow, the personal and collective unconscious given form, right? It comes from your true animalistic self, who we don't have conscious access to. But there's also an interesting idea happening here where, Persona is heavily influenced by Jung.
We need to steal their hearts, right?
Sure, yes, why not? Even Persona 5, especially Persona 5. Persona 5 literally has you going into the collective unconscious. That's what that's what like the subways are or whatever, where you're driving around in Mona. It's weird. Mementos, thank you.
A writer shines light on the darkness. What? Yes, even if they're not very good. Yes, even one like Alan. Stop laughing.
Stop it. Stop laughing. So here's another interesting thing though. In writing horror, when you think of the fear of the dark, why are people afraid of the dark? Like, what's the logic to it? I feel like most people would say
Mementos are great, just don't drop them in your Diet Coke.
I think most people would say that it is, fear of the unknown. It's fear of something that is out there that you don't know the form of. It is something that is frightening, but also without form, because we don't know what it is. If you illuminate the darkness, you're giving form to the fear, right? In a sense, if you're like writing or filming or, you know, if you're making horror media, the less you can see something, the less distinct something is, the more scary it's going to be, because your imagination can fill in the blanks there. That's why it's really interesting that this is a game about imagination. It's a game about giving form to creativity, to ideas, which is the purpose of art.
According to a great philosopher, fear of the dark, I have a constant fear that something's always near. Fear of the dark, I have a phobia that someone's always there.
This game is about creating art, giving form to imagination, to creativity, but the antagonist in the game is darkness that is defeated by light, which gives it form, right?
Fun fact, I mostly got over my fear of the dark when I was young like this. If something was going to kill me during the night, I didn't want to be tired.
But I think that's what's interesting about having a villain that is the dark presence that needs writers in order to give it form, because it is a fear without one. It doesn't have a physical presence without humans to create one for it, you know? It's kind of neat.
I think this is the form you wanted.
And here are the keys. Okay, you're all set, Mr. Wake. Glad to have you staying here.
Thanks. Can you tell me how to get to Lover's Peak?
Oh, sure. It's at the end of the nature trail. Just follow the paths. You'll get to it eventually. It's an easy walk. Nice
Turn the
spot, too.
camera around, I want to see that Allen cake.
Oh my god.
If you have any trouble finding it, just keep your eyes on the radio mast. It's right below that. Oh, and hey, if you take a walk in the woods, watch your steps so you don't end up like Max. I guess I'm a little worried. We got a bunch of campers out there we haven't heard from. It's not like these people are on a schedule, but with the traps, well, you know, I just don't want any trouble.
Right, thanks.
It's kind of why the thing was so scary. It didn't have a real form. It could be anything. Yeah.
Oh,
I'd
has
agree
at the
with that.
lodge now.
You're
Do we
asking me
get to see
believe that
Alan
you
Bake?
shot a dude who went poof into thin air, a guy who was bulletproof until you pointed a flashlight at him. You
So
hear
when
that
do
from
we
people
get to
who end
murk
up
some
spending
poachers?
time in padded rooms, strapped to their beds, wearing white shirts with too long tangled up sleeves, and eating a healthy diet of pills. Al, you make cruel jokes about people who believe that kind of stuff. You're the skeptic. You gave me an hour-long lecture on homeopathy last month. What was it? If there's no proof, it's pure bullshit. Period.
Barry, homeopathy is bullshit, but also stop being sanist.
Okay, maybe something weird happened to you, okay?
Well, thanks for the heartfelt vote of confidence.
All I'm saying is you gotta throw me a bone here, bestseller. What would you think if it was me? There's no way you should be going out at midnight with a gun.
No one asked you to come here, Barry. Either work with me on this or go straight back to New York. Your choice.
Alan is a new atheist YouTuber. I mean, it was 2010. Barry's like 2 degrees off from Penn Jillette. Oh god.
That noise he made at the end and the face he made didn't seem to match. Or was it me?
Again, the game originally came out in 2010.
That's just crazy talk, Al. Al? We should go to the sheriff or call the FBI.
Damn it, Barry, they'll kill her! This is not a goddamn debate, Barry. I'm going to Lover's Peak.
Debate me,
You
bro.
said to come alone.
Okay then. I understand. You're my best friend and I'm worried that you're not right in the head. Tell me what to do to help, and I'll do it.
You stay here, and if I'm not back by morning, call the cavalry.
Achoo! Achoo! Just be careful with the natives, Al. These yokels are dangerous. Everybody
Are
hates
they?
a tourist, or it'll be deliverance all over again. Achoo!
Bless you.
Oh, this place is trying to kill me. I'll bet there's mold in here, spores, poison ivy, God knows
Spores.
what. This is so not worth a 15% commission.
I like.
Debate me, Bun. You won't. You know you'll lose. That's right. I'm a master debater after all.
Alan doesn't deserve Barry. So I like that they make Barry out to be kind of a douche in the beginning here. Barry seems like such a jerk. We love Barry though.
Barry seems to have a very particular viewpoint of people who aren't from New York City.
Yes. He's one of them city slickers. You know the kind. You know the type. Honestly, he's a bit like Albert from Twin Peaks. Albert's a little more in control, but there are some similarities. Minutes of work left. Aww. Ooh, a hot tub. Aw, it's empty. Hey, McManus, how you doing? Don't go talk to a kidnapper alone.
I'll wait here, Al.
Yeah.
I'll be with you in spirit every step of the way, Al. Walk through the door now.
Yeah, probably probably a bad move. Honestly. Probably not great.
Barry had never gotten along with Alice, but he knew Alan loved her with an almost frightening intensity. And now something had happened to
Frightening
Alice.
intensity.
And here was Al armed with a gun and saying things people got put in padded cells for. It was as if his friend had experienced a massive psychotic episode and was now totally disconnected from reality. It scared the shit out of Barry.
Again, Barry being pretty sanist.
I knew I should have gone to the cops. This wasn't the smartest thing I'd ever done, but I was still
Yeah, no
angry at
kidding.
Barry for trying to talk me out of it. These people had called me right in the sheriff's station. The cops wouldn't scare them, and they had Alice.
Very problematic, but that's Barry's character arc, you know? He'll get better. Probably. Maybe? I hope. Probably.
Welcome back to the show, folks. As promised, our very own Dr. Nelson has just parked his rear end in the studio. Doc, what's your Deerfest plan like?
My plan? You make it sound a lot more organized than I ever seem to manage. No plan, really, just the atmosphere. I'm getting a little too rickety to do much more than that, you know.
Oh, tell me about it. No sack race for us older gentlemen, huh?
Yes, exactly, Bat. But I'm going to check out the parade, of course. And I'll be one of the pie contest judges.
Love a racing sack.
Well, that takes a different kind of constitution.
Oh, yeah, it's my kind of exercise.
Now, Doc, seriously, you're in pretty good shape, though. You're the outdoors type. I know for a fact you're an
I got one of those leather deer hoods.
Matter of fact, just caught a heck of a largemouth bass early this morning.
But you're not taking part in the fishing contest?
No, not this year. See, man, I'm just not that competitive anymore. Now I just like to take my time and enjoy the peace of it. It's no fun if I need to worry about what I'm catching, you know?
Considering your track record, the participants are probably pretty
True
happy.
username.
Well, Pat, that's kind of you to say.
I feel like the oh, there's lights in here. Oh, nice. I feel like the radio conversations in 2 are much more interesting than this one. There's some cool videos in this one, though. The power just go out? Lover's Peak? Yeah, I sure hope they do. Were there birds under the door? You can do better than that, Bunt. I'm sorry. I'll stop. Let's go, Night Springs!
Crime and punishment. The cancer and cure of civilization. But some crimes are impossible to punish, especially in Night Springs. Tonight's episode, The Man in the Mirror.
I wonder if this is about doppelgangers.
He's a weird one.
So, you're confessing to killing that guy, huh? Why?
Had it coming?
Yeah, but why would you do that? I mean, you're a nice guy. Normal. Took your kid to a soccer game. So how come at the game, you pick a guy and, quoting from the arresting officer's report here, assault the victim's head area repeatedly with the weapon of choice being a pair of bare fists?
You know, in and around his head.
That sentence really flows, huh? Maybe you're not the literary type. Okay, so you mess him up. But why? Who was that guy? We couldn't ID him. Why would a guy like you do him like that?
I didn't like his face.
Well, you must have hated it, because you really went to town there. I mean, there's no way to tell what he looked like. No ID on him either.
That must be difficult.
But then we ran the fingerprints. Got a match. Your prints. Identical.
Huh, how about that?
Your son said you were wearing a white shirt when you took him to the game. The white shirt is on the dead guy.
Nekorin, thank you so much for the raid. How you doing? Phrasing implies he beat that guy up with someone else's fists.
It's plenty red now.
You won't get away with this.
Do you really think that's in any way relevant to me? I had plenty of time to talk to my boy before the cops arrived, you know? He won't stop screaming, am I right? You think he's ever gonna be okay? I left my mark. Believe me.
You bastard.
What?
What are you gonna shoot him in an interrogation?
What's the point? I'm going to prison. You got me.
I don't understand any of this.
And you never will. Don't worry. Maybe you'll see me again, Agent. Maybe in the mirror.
So, Nekorin, what were you up to today? Did you have a good stream? I really hope so. That episode sucked. isn't the best one, but I also kind of dig the way it fits in with the rest of the game. I like how they use the episodes of Night Springs to give us a little bit of information about what's going on here. So there's something similar in Twin Peaks, where there's a soap opera that a bunch of people in town watch, which is called Invitation to Love, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it's hilarious. It's so funny. They've got like really soap opera-y plot lines going on in there. But they're all related to things that are going on in the show. And I think in Twin Peaks, it's more to be kind of weird and fun and funny. And in here, it's a little more like, here's some additional thematic elements, right? From an in-universe perspective, that would have been a terrible episode. Yeah. Yeah, the episodes of Night Springs are very short and really interesting because you can see where Remedy is trying things out here with like the live action episodes of a show inside Alan Wake that they're then going to use to much greater effect in like, they're going to use it to slightly worse effect in Quantum Break, and then to much better effect in Control, and then the best effect in Alan Wake 2.
Rose knew that Rusty was in love with her, and she liked him too. She liked him a lot. He taught her to dance, and life had certainly taught her the value of a man who was gentle. He treated her well, made her smile, made her feel good. But Rusty wasn't the prince of her dreams, and that tended to underline the unbearable truth. She was no closer to that Hollywood magic than he was.
To make dinner. Have a good dinner, Nico. Thank you so much for the raid. Yeah, Threshold Kids is fucking peak. It's really good. They're so short, you have to assume they're impressionistic, like giving you a general idea of what a real full-length episode would be like. Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want a video game where you've got like, 20, 30, 40 minutes of gameplay and then break that up with like a 20-minute episode of television. You don't want to have like a 20, 24-minute episode of TV in between like an hour or two of gameplay, because that would just break up the whole flow of it. You don't want to make a game like that, is what I'm saying. You don't want to Quantum Break up the gameplay. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. You don't want to break up the gameplay that much with like, what does the second game do? Not that. Quantum Break, though. Was Alan Wake a top-tier game when it came out? I think it was relatively middle of the road. It was a really experimental project from the people that worked on Max Payne, funded by Microsoft Studios, and barely finished. Gosh. Alan Wake was originally intended to be an open world game where you could like drive around the town of Bright Falls, and you would like, when in this section here, when they're like, oh, Barry, and go and get the keys to the cabin and then go to the like Lover's Peak or whatever, you could like drive between those locations was the idea. And it did not work. So they wound up paring it down until eventually they got this version of it. Remedy presents Deadly Premonition. There's a lot of similarities because both are very inspired by Twin Peaks. Although Alan Wake is more like if Twin Peaks just, like, Deadly Premonition is like Twin Peaks in its prime with the weirdest elements of it really emphasized. Alan Wake is a little more like if Twin Peaks just kept going until it turned into complete schlock, but was also aware of it. It's weird. It's weird to think about. Like, it'd be terrible to have a 20-minute finished art house movie in a game. No, that would be excellent. That would be great. Partially because that is completely optional.
The air in the visitor center was heavy with an awful smell, as if some rotten drowned thing had crawled up from its grave. Rusty kept coughing blood. My eyes were drawn to the twisted shape of his broken leg. The attack had been vicious. Max whined in his cage. Rusty's eyes were wild with fear and terror. He gasped. Mr. Wake, it happened just the way it was on that page.
So it's season 2. Okay. Alan Wake is like Twin Peaks season 2 for the first 2/3. Deadly Premonition is like the season finale of season 2. Alan Wake 2 is the return. Which is why part of Alan Wake 2 is Alan Wake writing a novel called The Return. Also, watch Twin Peaks. It's quite good. Highly recommend.
The vision left me weak. This was no head injury.
No!
Rusty, damn.
Rusty, hang on!
Oh God!
I'm coming!
Please, help me!
Did you see that tree fall over? It's like some kind of smoke monsters out there. Oh my goodness.
Anybody? Help me! Help me!
No. I just want to talk about Lost, okay? I just really like Lost.
Please, help! Hello? Back here. I'm back here. Hey.
You okay? You alright, buddy?
Wake? Oh, hell. It happened just the way it was on that page. I found. Came true. It knew. So dark. It'll come back for me. You must... The lights. In the office. I have the key.
Okay, Rusty. Hang on. I'll be right back. Whatever did this couldn't be far. Rusty had found a page from the manuscript. It would help me understand what had happened.
You alright, doggo?
Good boy.
I do need a Lost Mentioned emote, actually. A Trams can. Alright, so we're going across to the office. Yes, I
The
think
only
that's
way
the
to make
case.
sure
Okay.
that Rusty was safe was to get the power running and the lights back on.
I could do that. That'd be easy to do.
At the last instant, I changed direction and threw myself down. The axe splintered the trunk of a tree. I stumbled into the pool of bright light. My lungs burned. I was too exhausted to move. I tensed as I waited for the killing blow, but it never came. I raised my head. Nothing moved in the darkness beyond. For the moment, bathed in the cold light, I was safe.
English Black Sheep that did the Lost Mentioned meme and turned that into an emote. Yeah, I do like that Lost Mentioned meme. It's really good. There are, unironically, unironically, the writers of Lost were heavily inspired by Twin Peaks. During the first season of that show...
I was too late. Someone had destroyed the circuit breaker. There was no way to get the lights back on.
Rusty! Rusty!
Really? Oh, yeah, really. So, like, the writers of Lost were... I'm just going to talk about it really quick because I just like talking about Lost, okay? Don't worry about it. I'm just going to go over it real quick. So, in the beginning, the writers of Lost were basically given a mandate from one of the producers at ABC who had a dumb idea for an island show. Who was just like, oh, I want a show on an island. That's it. It's called Lost. It's a show on an island. It's a drama, but it's Survivor, but a drama. That was the idea. So a bunch of writers came on and worked on it, and they threw out a bunch of scripts. They wound up eventually giving it to J.J. Abrams, who passed it off onto Damon Lindelof. And they hashed out some ideas for, that dumb island show that nobody wanted to make. The producer wound up making the premiere so expensive at $14 million that the show became uncancelable for at least the first 8 episodes. So they were like, okay, we're guaranteed 8 episodes from ABC. And Damon Lindelof was basically like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
We could have had a dark and edgy version of Gilligan's Island. We were denying the greatest show in history.
Basically. But at some point, Damon Lindelof brought in Carlton Cuse, who was off work from Alias, I think. And the two of them were just like, okay, we're just going to make the best season of television we can come up with, because like after those 8 episodes did pretty well, they were like, okay, we're going to get renewed for like the rest of the season. We're going to have 24 episodes, but like, we're just going to make it for us. And we're going to be like, okay, if we crash and burn, maybe we'll be a cult phenomenon one day, like Twin Peaks. Was basically their idea, was we could be a Twin Peaks because we're never going to be an X-Files. And that's when ABC basically told them at the end of season 1, they were basically like, okay, we just want you to run the show indefinitely now. We don't just want a season 2, we would like a season 10. So you are going to make the show in perpetuity now. And they were like, what? How? Why? So between seasons 1 and season 2 is when they came up with all of the answers for the big questions in the show. They were like, okay, let's figure out what is the smoke monster? What is the island? Why is all this stuff happening or whatever? And so that's when they came up with like the wider lore of the show. They were like, we're not really super sure how we're going to get there, but here's where we're going to get. It's good. I love it. It's so good. I made the original Lost mention and Raptor fixed it. Oh, perfect. Okay. They're both excellent. Where was... Is the dog Max Payne? Oh, maybe that's why he's called Max. That's not a bad... It's not a bad one. We named the dog Indiana. Should I go back and watch Lost? I was too young to get it when it was out. Yes, absolutely. It's one of my favorite shows ever. Please and thank you. 2023 is the best time to watch Lost.
The ground was covered with oily patches that looked like liquid darkness.
Liquid darkness.
Hunters need hunting licenses.
But it's 2024. Well, then you missed it. 2024 is the second best time to start watching Lost. I can't believe. I can't believe I keep forgetting it's 2024. Where can I watch Twin Peaks for free? That's a good question. I watched it on Paramount Plus, but you gotta put it. Doggo, no!
Fishing is only permitted.
Max, no!
Who purchase a park license? Obey
the park ranger's instructions
at all times.
Rusty? Rusty, no!
Never
approach closer than 100 yards.
to bears and wolves. Never approach any other wolf closer than
25 yards.
That's
Rusty,
it.
no!
Someone gonna die. Killed the poor doggo.
leave your pet unattended.
I'm gonna get him. Don't worry.
It is against the law to remove any natural objects or historical artifacts from the park grounds.
Okay. I have avenged the dog. Can't believe they'd kill that dog. You know what doesn't kill the dog? ABC hit sci-fi drama Lost introduces a good doggo in episode 1, and they make it all the way through the entire series. Vincent is fucking all the way up until the end of that show. Lost is sci-fi? It is hard sci-fi, yes. Sir Dashy, thank you for the follow, my fur and whiskers. Lost starts out on an island, and it's actually just a time travel story at some point. It's fucking awesome. It's so good. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Why are you lost? Oh my god. Where'd they get all this ammo from? Holy shit. York 357 centerfire rounds. Huh. Named after Agent Francis York Morgan. Call me York, everyone does. I love that there was that chart going around where it was like which fictional detectives could solve the Kira case from Death Note. And the only reason that Deadly Premonitions York wasn't like higher on that list is because every time he introduces himself, he says, "My name is Francis York Morgan. Call me York, everyone does." He would just be killed immediately. What kind of American are you? Do you not have at least one fully stocked ammunition cache ready for anyone who might need it? Columbo's very high on that list, yes.
What the hell was that? I saw from the window. I saw something.
Forget about it, Barry.
Wasn't
it's
the
just
whole
me going
point
crazy.
of Death Note just to have twist on twist on twist on twist on twist for reasons?
I wish you were crazy, but you're not crazy. Ow, be careful.
Stay in the cabin. Don't open the door for anyone. I mean it.
Maybe a little bit. Rusty's final
In that
thought.
last instant of consciousness, Rusty thought about Rose. He was older than she was. Rose was barely out of her teens, but she made him feel young and forget what a train wreck his long-dead marriage had been. He still wore the ring. He'd been waiting for her to tell him to take it off. Now she never would.
Aww. So I love this game. I like talking about it. I like thinking about it. But also an inordinate amount of it is wandering through the woods at night. Yeah, it's got a jump button. Like, they're pretty woods.
Lover's Peak was at the far end of the nature trail.
Is that a phone? Somebody just leave a payphone out here? Whoa, okay. Good. Foam in the woods. You mean a pay-as-you-go phone? Like the ones at the grocery store? Oh my god, no. Don't you dare do this to me. Torch got worse in 2. There's 2 things that 2 does better with the torch. 1, in Alan Wake 1, if you're aiming, it's taking up battery. In Alan Wake 2, there's a separate button to use the battery for 2 zapping guys with it. Which is
I
good.
think that this flashlight would be functionally useless in a real-world situation. Batteries last mere seconds before needing replacement.
No, like, okay, you can see my battery gauge at the top left there. It actually doesn't go down unless I'm, like, supercharging it by doing this. And then it recharges afterwards.
This is literally how flashlights were before LEDs though. It was terrible.
So, I don't know. It's too eepy to see the wake, no problem. That's okay, Pink. How you doing? Alright, there's a light out here we can just hang out in. Ooh. Shotgun. Congrats on getting off work, Raptor.
That's just how energized rechargeable AAs used to be. Seriously, there was a special size called a lantern battery for a light you wanted to actually last. It was the size of a beer can.
Yeah, Alan Wake 2 actually lets you aim without using flashlight battery, which is nice. Alan Wake 2's flashlight is also much more understandable because you press the button once and it destroys their shield. It's just like one and done. In this one, you kind of have to just hold it on them until it works. Ow. So, like, I don't know. The flashlight is weaker in 2, but it's also much more usable, I think. It was fine to me for a 2010 game. It beats out some 2023 games like Stray Souls. I'm actually not having a bad time with it. I remember this game not playing very well. Maybe it's because I'm playing the remaster, but it feels pretty good.
Now I am picturing Bun just going pew 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 while turning the flashlight on and off.
Pew pew! Segment of the game where there's an achievement for not shooting? Interesting. Yes, I am planning on playing Alan Wake 2. I think I'd really like to. That's the one I want to talk about a lot. Oh, and yes, absolutely play this game on easy.
So what historical weapon is his gun made from?
Oh my god.
I turned the corner, afraid of what the flashlight's beam might reveal. Suddenly, a roughly painted symbol of a torch glowed in the light. Behind it, hidden by a rock, sat a battered metal trunk. It was here for a reason.
I wasn't aware that there was no physical release of Alan Wake 2. I don't know why.
Things you need to make it through the darkness of the night. Something left behind by someone who knew what I knew, and more.
Through the dark of the night, evil will find her. Ooh, oh. You think Alan was inspired by Rasputin? What a good movie.
My dear, it's a sign. It's the end of the line.
Thank you.
I kinda would like to see what sort of game you'd get if your primary weapon was reassembled from the gun Valerie Sylvanas used to shoot Andy Warhol.
That would be weird. Okay, okay, here we go. Oh, jeez. Alan Wake 2 is better for having so much less combat in it. This game throws so many enemies at you. Has Stephen King ever commented on the Alan Wake games? That's a great question. I don't think so. I want to know what David Lynch thinks of the Deadly Premonition games. Okay, that just restores your health. Good. Alright, great. King hasn't talked about Dark Place either. No, I don't think Stephen King plays video games. I definitely don't. Actually, I take that back. I don't know if Stephen King plays video games anymore. I could imagine Stephen King in his, like, teens playing Pac-Man at an arcade or something. Like, it seems like the kind of thing for Stephen King to drop a reference to is, like, playing Galaga or some shit. Hmm. 1853, the Washington Territory was formed. Founding of the Bright Falls Mining Company in the town itself. Washington was granted statehood. Tree damaged in a forest fire. The Bright Falls Mining Company closes its doors after a volcanic eruption below Cauldron Lake. feel like I'm getting lost out here. Stephen King plays PUBG or something like that. Stephen King likes to drop some nerdy pop culture references in his... Lost mentioned, jeez. Likes to drop some nerdy pop culture references in his books. Frequently. Was there ever Lost video games? There was one, yes. It's not good. I played it a couple Tuesdays ago, actually. Okay, I can definitely jump this. Oh, okay, that's what you're supposed to... That could have been better communicated. Maybe they should splash some yellow paint on this so that... I'm just saying.
Agent Nightingale didn't want to be in Bright Falls. These little communities revolted him, and he didn't like the trees or the coffee. He now knew that impossible horrors lurked behind the storefronts and smiles. He desperately wanted to turn the car around and just drive until he passed out or ran out of road and booze. But he had a job to do. He had a rider to catch, at any cost.
So... Agent Nightingale, FBI, is a fun character in here? Because he is... like... a diametric opposite to Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks. Cooper from Twin Peaks, when he arrives in the town of Twin Peaks, asks the sheriff, "What are these trees?" Like, he's so into that. He likes working with the town's sheriff. He, like, establishes boundaries quite early. He loves coffee. And Agent Nightingale didn't like the trees or the coffee. These little communities revolted him, you know? Like, it's very funny that they make him such an opposite of Cooper. Would you still respect me if I've never seen Twin Peaks? Yes, of course. You should probably watch Twin Peaks, though. It's pretty good. You might like it. The thing with Twin Peaks and Lomst is, I'm going to say this. I really hate when television shows are like, oh, no, it gets really good in season 3. No, just keep watching it for like 40 some odd episodes. It gets really good. No. I need a good first episode. It's required. That show's got to be good all the way through. If I'm going to put that time into it, it's got to be good the whole way through. And that's how Lomst and Twin Peaks are. So if you think you might like those things, and I kind of think you might like those things, watch episode 1, watch the pilot, and figure out if you like it from that.
20-hour thing.
Yeah. The first episode needs to draw you in. It's meant to. It's an elevator pitch for the entire thing. So, like, Twin Peaks' first episode, like the pilot of Twin Peaks and the pilot of Lost, are both totally indicative of the quality of the show going forward. They're not the best episodes in the show, but they're also far from the worst. Like, Lost's pilot is like an 8 out of 10 episode in a show with like 12 out of 10s. And also a couple like 5 out of 10s. Same with like Twin Peaks. The first episode of Twin Peaks is like 7 or 8 out of 10.
Casual reminder that Rasputin allegedly had a 12-inch cock.
Oh. Is that true? Was that ever confirmed? Ouch. I feel like I wouldn't like that.
here to smooch a bun.
How are you?
I'm good. Also, I heard you talking about the wonderful things that are lost in Twin Peaks.
Yeah?
And I have to say, like, Lost kind of just grabs you with its first episode.
Yes.
Understandably, just because it's so dramatic, so much stuff just happens. But Twin Peaks is so fucking good. Because it's not necessarily I mean, it's dramatic. You've got murder and whatnot, but
yeah,
it just kind of very gradually, like, reaches out and grabs you. And it's like, you live here now.
It's pretty good at that,
Also, hello, chat.
Speaking of which, I just want to talk about Golgo real quick. Hang on. That just reminded me of this panel from Golgo 13.
Why is there a pointer on his crotch? Oh,
Because he
boy.
lures all the women in the world to the height of ecstasy. At any rate, an amazing penis.
I'm gonna get
Canon.
I'm gonna get a custom strap harness with this etched into it, like into the leather. Or at least 10 out of 10. An amazing
Tell us more
penis.
about Rasputin's enormous hog.
That's just a panel from the Golgo 13 comics. Interesting. He wrote this page himself. I feel like the writer...
Sorry, someone's asking about Rasputin's dick.
Yes, that's how we got on to talking about Golgo's amazing penis,
So-
at any rate.
Real quick, fun fact, there was a penis that was carried around for a while and, like, claimed to be Rasputin's. As far as we know, it wasn't.
Okay.
Like, here's the thing. Rasputin, apparently, regardless of what his dick size actually was, the man was notorious for being able to get into the pants of basically everyone.
Is this like how there were like 10 or 15 churches that claim to have the foreskin of Christ?
Well, that's its own discussion. Also, there was, in fact, I think it was one of the Saint Teresas. There's a couple. I believe Catherine believed that she was married to Jesus and he gave her his foreskin as a wedding ring. Catholicism has absolutely no chill. Saints are bizarre.
Okay.
Just to finish up the thing about Rasputin real quick. The reason that, again, he certainly, people saw his penis. There was one point where he got drunk in a restaurant and proceeded to walk around the restaurant, pull his dick out, walk around the restaurant more, and wave it in the faces of diners while saying, "Love freely!" Which, I mean, dinner and a show. What? I'm not going to complain about that. But, later there are references in theory to him having been castrated as part of the long involved process of murdering him. Basically, I as a historian have never found any conclusive proof that he was castrated or anything bad happened to his junk during his murder. The guy whose most of our accounts come from, that's Felix Yusupov, was just a chronic fucking liar and changed the events like every other time that he told the story of the death of Rasputin. There's even some debate, like, some versions say that he probably died of drowning after he got chucked into the Neva after everything else that happened to him. Others, there's an interesting theory that he was actually killed with a shot to the head with a bullet that was identified as, like, a British-style bullet, implying there might have been British spies who were trying to bump him off, because people thought he had way more control than he actually did.
I really hate the phrase biblically accurate Snape wife.
Love to
No, we're not. No, I hate that.
I hate it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's, like, everyone had reasons to lie about him. Yusupov's
BTW,
murder of
tell us
him
some
was
vampire LARP stories. Fun.
a fucking catastrophe, planning-wise. It's like, frankly, there are some theories that Felix Yusupov himself was gay and kind of had it in for Rasputin. Rasputin was like, sorry, my dude, I'm not into that. And he supposedly, according to these theories, tried to kill him as, like, a weird homoerotic I can't deal with myself thing. If there is any truth to that, all I have to say is this is why you don't let bottoms plan anything.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
Love you too.
Also, additionally, fun fact, the day I was born is the day Rasputin died, which is probably why I'm...
Burbs! No, burbs! Whee!
Alright, we're done talking about Rasputin.
Makes me want to put on some coffee. In fact, I think I'm going to make some now. Do you think the prevalence of coffee is part reference to Twin Peaks, part allusion to how coffee and caffeine serve as a muse and fuel for art?
That's certainly
Ian
possible.
is much older than I thought.
Who dat?
Come on, we gotta get moving. More of them coming. That flashlight's kid stuff. The flares will keep the bastards away.
It's kid stuff.
You can see them too? Hell, of course I see them. Come on, we gotta move. Why? Because that's the way the story goes. Yeah, but... Let's move! I lost my gun back there. Oh, I've got a gun. Just keep that light steady on him.
It took a moment, but then I recognized him. He'd been on the ferry when I first arrived here with Alice. He knew my name.
Oh yeah, he
headed
was.
in the direction of Lover's Peak. There was no way this was a coincidence. He was the kidnapper.
Come on, Wake! You better keep up. Hear that? It's them. That's what I got for you. Ah! How's that, huh?
This is just a weird section. Like, I feel like this would be a decent tutorial for, like... Here's how to use your flashlight, but, like... It's pretty late in the game for that.
Like that, boy? Huh?
Oops.
Lover's Peak. Right up these stairs, Wake. Use the flares from the emergency box to hold them off while I get these boards off.
Give me the gun.
Yeah, no can do, Wake. Are you kidding? Give me the gun! No time for back talk. Hold them off, damn it.
It's like Sonic 06. Have a tutorial for the game 5 levels in. Yeah. Ty, oh my goodness. How you doing? Oh my gosh. Welcome on in, Raiders. It's so good to see ya. Ty, what were you up to today? Oh my gosh. Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm Bun, or Lucky, or Paige, you know, whichever you prefer. I do, well, today I'm doing some critical analysis streaming, where I'm talking about, Alan Wake. This game, pretty good. And I'm trying to apply a little bit of, Carl Jung's analytical psychology to it. And just a tiny bit of Marxist theory. I think it's got a lot to say in both regards. They're kind of fascinating. This is a really fun game to play and think about, though. Gosh, good to have you all here. Oh my gosh.
Hey, it's fine. The player doesn't need to know how to do combat until episode 2. Then why be put combat in episode 1? Because shut up.
Okay, it's open.
Just gotta pull out some more flares. Okay. It's weird how much the kidnapper here is kind of a red herring. When Alan goes into a restaurant, does he order an Alan steak?
Oh, you feeling better now, Wake? All cozy and safe.
When Alan has a controversial opinion online, it's something of an Alan take. When Alan smokes weed, he gets Alan baked. Oh, the tarts are broken. Perfect. Sounds a bit Alan fake to me. Oh my goodness. Shadow monsters. Now there's fish people. Oh boy. Hey Tina Hacks, how are you? Oh my gosh. Hang on. There it is. Alright. I fixed it. Alright. I think I fixed it. There we go. Worse now that I heard that joke. I'm sorry. When Alan sells oil, they call him Alan Snake. When he goes to a book signing, it's actually an Alan fake. Okay, well, here's the funny thing, is that the character we're playing as right now is actually an Alan fake. In the beginning of this game, Alan Wake has a dream sequence, and then we play as Alan Wake until he dives into Cauldron Lake, and then he's writing a character named Alan Wake, who we're playing as for the rest of this game. So from the car crash in Chapter 2 onward, we are playing as an Alan fake. Because this game, because Sam Lake, the writer of this game, is a big fan of David Lynch, who is very into doppelgangers as a concept. And that's what we get. It's going to be in a test? Yes. There will be homework.
This is it, Wake. The last stand.
Alan is looking for his wife, but it's actually a biblically accurate Alan snake.
Give me the goddamn gun! They're coming! That's not how this goes. Get with the program, Wake.
They're what? So did he die? No! He's actually currently at the bottom of the lake writing this novel. Here we go. Okay. I'll be able to attend his Alan Wake. Oh my god. It's not a lake, it's an ocean. Yes, I know. I know. It's not a loop. Brother, may I have some loops? It's not a beach. It's a bathtub. Ah, yeah, that explains the lifeguard, yeah. Why were there two? Just pressing the wrong button to dodge over here. Alan Lake / Ocean? More like Sam Lake / Ocean. So I just want to point out, for all y'all new here, here's the depth of Alan Wake. This is why I like this game. Okay, Sam Lake, the writer of this game, was up until this point famous for writing Max Payne 1 and 2 and being the face model of Max Payne in the first game. So Max Payne has Sam Lake's face and is written by Sam Lake. In Alan Wake, Alan Wake is famous for a series of crime novels about a character named Alex Casey. He gets pulled down into the dark depths of a lake where he is forced to continue to write, inventing a character that runs around the world wearing his own face. Compelled by a dark force to write through his blocks. And I don't know. I feel like that comes from a very genuine place. You know? Sam Lake isn't Sam Lake's real name. That's news to me.
Now. Where's my wife?
I knew you were gonna say that. I read it all before. You're a hell of a writer. Congratulations. You're gonna bring about something glorious and terrible once we get you some proper editorial control.
What the hell are you talking about? Where's Alice?
I want the entire manuscript, or she's gonna suffer bad.
You touch her now.
Okay, bye. So Alan Wake, written by Sam Lake, is trapped at the bottom of a lake writing a character who isn't Alan Wake,
No!
but has his face.
I swear I'll kill you if you hurt Alice! Do you hear me? Come back here!
Cancelled for bad takes? More like Alan Woke, am I right?
He wanted the manuscript because he thought it held some magical power, but I had no manuscript to give him. I had to get back to Barry and figure out my next move. On more than one occasion, Alice had tried to explain to me how it felt to be afraid of the dark. To her, darkness wasn't simply the absence of light, but something more tangible than that. It was something you could touch and feel. Worse than that, it was something with a mind of its own, something malicious and malign. For her, things changed when they were wrapped in darkness. They turned into something else, something foreign, and nothing was safe or innocent anymore. I'd never really understood what she meant, until now.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting treating darkness as an entity in and of itself, rather than as the absence of something. Like the absence of light. But instead treating it as an entity which is the absence of light or the absence of form. Dark matter is matter. I mean, one day we might find out what it all is. Darkness as a sludge. I like when darkness is a sludge. That's fun. Too many games are blood and guts and gore, and not enough of them are like Iker and Tar. You know? There's things to do there. Oh, hey. We got our gun back. Nice. Or liquid latex? Okay, well, okay. So listen. Lovecraft without the racism. There's quite a bit of Lovecraft in Alan Wake. I'm not sure if that's because Alan Wake was explicitly inspired by Lovecraft, or if it's a result of being inspired by Stephen King, who was inspired by Lovecraft. You know what I mean? So about that racism. Well, there is an aspect of... So there's two things going on here. I don't think Alan Wake as a game is particularly racist or offensive in any way. I just want to get that out there right away. However, there is a highly Western aspect to the ideas of like light and darkness or white and black as forces of good or evil, they're sort of just taken for granted in a lot of like Western media. And I think they're worth considering as an aspect of like representations of race, right? I don't think that that's what this game is doing in any way, but it is a thing to think about. Symbolism is often just depackaged Christianity, secular or not. Yes. Which has its own history of race relations.
Not that subtle, let's say.
These are interesting things to think about, yeah. Heck. Beam Slash, thank you for the follow, my furry whiskers. I wonder if it was always evil or just became that way when the threshold appeared between the dark place and Cauldron Lake. So that's a good question. So like, for instance, when we're talking about Silent Hill, in Silent Hill 2, they introduced the idea of like a spiritual power underneath the town that's like causing things to manifest. I would not call that evil because it doesn't really have a will. It's just kind of like a force that exists there. Whereas the dark presence in Alan Wake is much more of a character. It has a will, it has an objective, it has something that it's trying to do, right? So it has more capacity to be evil than something like that. So I don't know if it was always like that, but it certainly is now. It's like going, Lovecraft's racism was not that subtle, let's say. So Lovecraft has a, I don't know if I want to say interesting, but Lovecraft has a type of racism that comes out of anxiety. A lot of Lovecraft's racism isn't necessarily like the same kind of thing necessarily as white supremacy as it is. He was a very anxious and fearful person who was very afraid of things like eugenics, like emphasis on the phobia in xenophobia. Like his worst fear would probably be finding out, like taking one of those like heritage tests where they're like, oh yeah, you're, 4% black or whatever. He would be terrified of that. That would be the worst thing. I don't get it. It was his thing for a long time. Although towards the end of his life, he started to walk a lot of that back. I would consider In the Mountains of Madness one of his better works in that regard.
So basically the end of A Shadow over Innsmouth.
Yes, absolutely yes. Where he started to realize a lot of those biases were kind of bullshit. But yeah, just, I don't know, kind of weird. Weird to see it coming from such a place of internal fear rather than external hatred. Having an aneurysm, finding out he's mixed or something. And I can somewhat...
You're 99% Caucasian, 1% had a Lovecraft freaks out.
Exactly. The thing that makes that make a little more sense...
He literally has a story that is him being afraid of the neighbor's noisy, newfangled air conditioner.
Yeah. The thing that sort of makes that make sense is both of his parents were institutionalized. So, like... I can get because eugenics was becoming a bigger thing, because evolution theory was becoming a bigger thing, people were like, oh, a lot of this stuff is inherited. What if people's intelligence or sanity can be inherited? And so, since both of his parents wound up in like mental institutions, it was a relatively decent fear to be like, what if there's something wrong with me genetically, you know? And so that could absolutely be a part of it. Like, I have a friend whose dad had Huntington's, and he didn't want to get tested for a long time because he didn't even know if he wanted to know if he had it or not. Because it can skip generations or not, and it's you don't know if you have it until way later in life, and it's incredibly degenerative. And he doesn't, thank goodness. But yeah, there's like there's fears he had about like his own DNA, I guess.
The night had been one desperate situation after another. I was exhausted, and my body felt as though it had been chewed up and spat out. The flashlight was heavy in my hand, and each pull of the trigger sent a painful shock up my arm. But I was finally out of the woods, and things were looking up.
Yeah, he kind of got
That's
there a
when I
little
heard
bit.
the chainsaw.
Mm. So yeah, like, I think there's a discussion to be had about Lovecraft racist. But I also think there's a more interesting discussion to have about that. If that makes sense. Because I feel like the discussion doesn't begin and end with Lovecraft racist. I don't know if he made it there fully. He really didn't have time. Yeah. Hey, Mexe. How's it going? Gosh. Yeah, the 1920s, not great. Wasn't great. Oh, wait, I have the rifle now instead of the shotgun. Okay, I got it. All right. Stream is going? Okay. Yo, there's a crashed plane in the woods here, just like in ABC's hit sci-fi drama Lost. Yo, remember when they found a crashed plane? Oh, is Boone gonna die in this one? What? No, okay.
I really dislike the product of their time's excuse for this kind of belief system. There were plenty of people who knew eugenics was horse shit and yelled quite loudly about it, but those people were not elevated to positions of extreme institutional power, and their words were not recorded and reflected upon by powerful people in the public record.
Yeah, certainly. I'm not trying to excuse anybody's racism, obviously. I'm just saying that there's, I think, a slightly more interesting discussion that exists around it than trying to discount all of Lovecraft's work because Lovecraft racist. If that makes sense. Time to discuss Lost. It's my favorite show. I've been talking about it so much. So now do we jump on plane? No? No. Okay. No. I guess not. We may have mentioned Lost once or twice. Ooh. Free stuff. Nice. We have not seen Nightingale yet. We have heard him mentioned in one of the pages we picked up. Is there a smoke monster in this? Kinda. There's kind of a smoke monster in Alan Wake, and also it wears a human face of one of the characters that we like.
Heard the plane fall. It made no sense. It was clear that it had just fallen here.
Wait a
It was
minute.
very old and obviously hadn't flown in decades. Looking at it sent a shiver down my spine.
It's all lost. Always has been. Uh-oh. Alright, what if I drop a flare here? Do you think that gives me enough time to start up the generator? If I press the right button, maybe. There we go. And they're gone. Can't in good faith separate Lovecraft's work from Lovecraft's racism, since so much of it was born out of xenophobia? Absolutely. 100% agree, yeah. Yeah, which is interesting to talk about. Wait, wrong weapon? Probably don't want to use that flare right away. Okay. Well. Yeep. I think I wish these Taken talked a little more. They're kind of quiet in this game, you know? Taken should have been talking. Wait, no, hang on. I got him. There we go. Ow. Sub-zero temperatures tomorrow? Oh gosh. Yeah, it was big snowy out today. Big heckin' snowy. How much did you get? A couple inches. I haven't checked recently. When I started stream, it was still going. Yeep. Well, that's concerning. No, my car's covered. No. All this darkness goo. I think it's kind of cool that when you, like, get rid of this darkness, there's these little wispy bits that look like ink in water. Alan Wake is writing a book on a typewriter at the bottom of a lake, so you get this, like, ink in water kind of, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like you can see it? Oh. Motif.
But Bun, you said you are always a fan of a good goop.
I do love a goop. Here. Manuscript. You mean blood drop in the ocean or whatever his tortured metaphor was? He did have one of those too, yeah.
When Barry saw the darkness attack the visitor center, it made him a believer. The men Al said he'd shot, they hadn't been just locals on crank. Somehow the world had changed, like the channel had been switched without warning. You think you're watching a sitcom, and you're really watching a horror show. When the birds started attacking the cabin, Barry wasn't surprised, just terrified.
There was a show that did this recently. Where it's it's like a married couple, and the guy's scenes are filmed like a sitcom where there's like a laugh track and everything's like brightly lit, and then you get scenes of the wife and it's like starkly lit modern drama kind of a thing. almost horror elements. I haven't seen it yet, but it sounded interesting. Kevin Can Fuck Himself. That's what I'm thinking of, yeah. That's the one I'm thinking of. It's kind of depressing but compelling. Yeah, it sounded interesting. That's the name? That's the name. Weird name. Yeah, it seemed like a neat idea, though. Is there anything else to do up here? Okay. Wait, that's the name? That's the name. It's actually called Kevin Can Fuck Himself.
The logging site was a mess. The modular office had been pushed off the cliff. Deputy Thornton climbed up
I
the
remember that.
wreckage
Okay.
excited, breathing hard from the exertion. Nobody there. It's weird. Don't you think that's weird? Bored, Mulligan let out a mighty snort. Hell, it's always weird, Thornton. Just a question of sorting out what kind of weird it is this time around.
Of course, that breaks the link parsing. I'm sorry. This is very precarious, yeah. You know, logging was a big part of Twin Peaks, too. Twin Peaks is a logging town. It's a little bit gauche for me to sit here pointing out references to, like, Twin Peaks. Or ABC's hit sci-fi drama Lost, of course. Like, it's a little bit... it's a little bit dull to just sit here and point out these references like they're Easter eggs or something like that. But I think that actually what's going on here is that these references are text rather than meta text. They're less Easter eggs and they're more...
Of course it's very gauche. You should stop doing it.
No, I'm not gonna. And here's the reason why. Really early on in this game, Alan Wake references a guy cutting through a door with an axe as like Jack from The Shining. And the thing is that, like, when Alan is pointing out his own references, like really on the nose references, I either think that this is a result of a bad writer that doesn't know what he's doing, or it's meant to be an element of the text. And I don't think Sam Lake's a bad writer. Here's what's going on, is that Alan Wake is a game that is interested in talking about creativity, ideas, and art. And the fact that art is a way that we give form to our creativity. We try to take it from our mind and put it into a medium, right? And that's always going to be imperfect. There's always going to be compromises you make when you're taking something that is intangible and making something tangible out of it. It's never going to be representative of the whole idea. You're never going to paint a person that captures everything that person is, you know? Because there's just no way to translate something wholly from one media to another. It just doesn't happen. But the question, I guess, is where do our ideas come from? Where does creativity originate? Is that something outside of ourselves that we're pulling from? Is that a supernatural force? Is that something internal in our own minds? You know, sometimes it's drugs. I know a couple of bands that were heavily inspired by drugs. Sure. But Alan Wake's an interesting example because it's saying that creativity does come from something intangible inside us, but it's also coming from sources. And Twin Peaks is a source of inspiration for the writing in this game. And I think it's doing this deliberately to say that this is a piece of art that is derivative of other art, because that's where ideas come from. That's how creativity happens. You don't make art in a vacuum. Alan Wake writing a book at the bottom of the lake is the worst possible place to be creative. He's locked himself in there with like no stimulus around. There's nothing to pull from. There's no experience to make those creative thoughts happen, right? A metaphor saying his writing sucks. His writing does also kind of suck if you read some of these manuscript pages, but I can also understand why, if he's writing them without a lot of enrichment from the outside world at the bottom of this fucking lake, right? It gets worse in 2. My biggest personal criticism of the game is how uninteresting Alan's prose is. No, I like that. That's on purpose. He's supposed to be kind of bad. It's supposed to be a little funny that his writing is actually pretty bad. But yeah, I think that's interesting. So if we're talking about inspiration, all of these references to things like Twin Peaks are there on purpose. They're part of the text. They're part of the message of the game. They're part of the theme of the game. But the other place that we pull our creativity from, a guy named Carl Jung would argue, is a archetype that exists inside of our minds known as the shadow. The shadow is our true self. It's our animalistic sense, but it's also our, like, doorway to the unconscious, both of the collective and personal unconsciouses. And Jung would say that that was the creative force inside people. Is that they're pulling from the shadow, the unconscious world, and trying to use the force of the ego to bring that into the real world, the conscious plane, right? I don't think Jung is a particularly great psychologist. I don't think this is a great way to understand the way that human beings actually work, but it is very fun to apply to this video game. Do you have stuff to say about Scratch later on? Absolutely, yes.
You know, people keep talking about writing in a vacuum, but like, vacuums can't fit a human body in it, much less a typewriter.
Not with that attitude. There's any commentary about popular writer mill kind of books with Alan being kind of bad and the best-selling author on the planet of the world where Stephen King canonically exists? That's a really interesting point, and I think so, yeah. I do want to talk a little bit later, once we start to get a little more stuff with Dr. Hartman, about the way that the dark presence can also represent the forces of capitalism. The things which force artists to make art not for enrichment.
Who would say creativity, especially intense verve and drive, were a result of sublimated sexual urges. He thought creativity came from D's nuts.
Oh my god. Yes. Yeah, Jung disagreed with a lot of Freud's assessment, especially of sexuality, where Jung believed that inside there's an opposite force of gender that exists inside each of us. So he would say that, mind you, he was a product of his time. He would say that every man contains an element of the anima, and that every woman contains an aspect of the animus, and that these are the ways that we negotiate between ourselves and the shadow. I have no idea how he would feel about modern gender, like the way that we've developed our understanding of gender. It was pretty early for that. Does that make the prostate the animus? Listen. He would combust? No, I don't know. I feel like he would take that pretty much in stride. I feel like he would say, because Jung insisted that there are an infinite number of archetypes, that these aspects of our personality are not limited. These are just ones that he has identified. And they change not just over time, but culturally too. So I feel like what Jung's understanding of modern gender would be is that we contain multitudes of genders, and that our gender expression is a compromise between conflicting forces in them, right? Because he was really interested in things like syzygies. I should probably steer away from the word syzygy when we're discussing gender. I'm sorry. However, Jung was a sissy? Gee. No, so a syzygy is a whole made of opposites. It's he would probably believe in like a gender binary at the time, so he would probably think that gender itself is a whole made from a conflict between the masculine and the feminine, and that our actual gender or our understanding of our own gender is a compromise between these two things. I would say that that's not accurate, because I believe that non-binary people are fucking valid. But that's probably how he would think. It's a whole made of opposites. Where was I going with this? Oh, and the last aspect of the self in the writings of Jung is the persona, which is the mask. It's a front that we put on for other people. It's the way that we wish to be observed in order to hide the true self. And this is normally like a little bit of a negative thing. You kind of want to overcome some of the aspects of the persona. But it's not necessarily like a bad thing, because it offers a lot of psychological protection to yourself. And it's important and good to have like a self-image that you want to present to others. That's fine. It's the fursona. Yes. Which is interesting because Alan Wake is writing a character named Alan Wake who's running around in this game wearing his face and is a great big hero who is gonna save his wife. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think Jung, while defining the persona, was his way of explaining that Chie Satonaka was the best character and will not be taking any notes or questions.
She's pretty good, yeah. What did this end up being? Wait a minute, what? What did what end up being? To his right there. I like Mitsuru. I thought Mitsuru was pretty cool. She doesn't know what a hamburger is.
Shadows
That's
stirred
funny.
and the wind picked up as I ran through the forest. I felt the dark presence turning its gaze toward me. Then the moonlight was blotted out by dark shadows that raced violently across the ground.
The
moving too
gaze.
swiftly to be natural.
Oh.
Darkness gathered between the trees and melted again to reveal the Taken. No natural path had brought them here.
I'm enjoying this. I'm glad. I'm sorry if most of this is like... I have trouble doing the talking and the game playing at the same time. Because I'm not very good at this streaming thing. I'm kind of new to it. I've only been doing it for 3 years. So I wind up pausing so I can get my thoughts out a lot. I keep pressing X to open this up, and it's circle. Cool. I heard a loon. Have to hire an assistant gamer for when you're yapping. Honestly, I think Slow Beef and Diabetes had it right when they just got gameplay footage to talk over. That's probably the way to do it. Either that or like script it out and make a whole video, but that's not gonna happen.
As an empath, I feel that ow. Don't push me back in your pocket, bun.
Hey, you missed Belle. Look at nearly any list of best-selling English novels. A disturbing number of them are just terribly written. It can certainly happen, yeah. Wow, this is a lot of... I don't want to say chest-high cover, but this does look like a lot of cover.
Logging is a hazardous occupation.
Alright, pay attention to a little bit of the dialogue here. Is that all? We just get the one line? Okay. So, what I find a little bit interesting is that a lot of the ancillary characters, like these Taken, are going to be... a lot of these Taken characters have dialogue that is very related to their job, and that's about it. This guy shows up with a chainsaw and is just like, what's the lore reason for the torch? I may have missed that bit. Oh, for the symbol or the flashlight itself? Anyway, he shows up with a chainsaw and says logging is a hazardous occupation. The last one we saw that was talking to us was Stucky, I think. who is talking about his apartments for rent and stuff like that. Dark Force being related to capitalism is sticking in me. How'd I never notice that? I think that's a legitimate reading to bring to this. And I think there's two or three explanations for what's going on here. One of which is Alan Wake is writing these people into existence, and he's a bad writer who writes very two-dimensional characters. That's an explanation. Here's another one. I think it was Sophie from Mars's video that said that Alan is more from like kind of a bourgeois class and sees these people as being sort of shallow and two-dimensional, and related mostly to their labor. And I think that's valid. But I think it's more interesting to think about these being created in opposition to Alan by the Dark Presence. And I think there's one of two things going on here, which is that the Dark Presence only values people for their labor. It's why it wants artists, is for their art. It doesn't really care about them as people. It just wants them making product so it can exist. It just wants to grind them up, steal their creative labor, and that's it. That's all it does, right? I do think the Dark Presence is not just capitalism, but I do think it's a little bit capitalism. I'm just saying. It doesn't really care about the quality or the content of the work. Even if the book that Alan's writing is going to result in the destruction of the Dark Presence doesn't care. It's still going to make it real because it just needs thing to exist, right? The Darkness has requested several Wonder Bread pictures. Jesus Christ. So I think that's one aspect of these characters. And the other one that's kind of interesting is that the Darkness, in order to make things real, requires art. So it's possible that the Darkness is making these two-dimensional representations of people based on things like advertisements or warning signs. Logging is a hazardous occupation. Or like Stucky's advertisements for his like apartments that he rents and things like that.
So Alan Wake predicted AI art.
Nordic
Gotcha.
walking. Exactly. Alan Wake predicted AI art. Not as well as Metal Gear Solid 2 did, but I think there's aspects of that.
Barry?
Ow! The porch is covered with birds. They've got all Hitchcock on me.
Stay out of sight.
See what I mean? It's not. It's text. It's not. It's not meta text. It's just text.
Just make sure you keep the lights on.
They've gone all Hitchcock on me. We're bringing up Metal Gear 2. If you enjoy this, this is a thing I do on Fridays where I like to provide a little bit of critical analysis. But if you'd like, I've got a YouTube video about Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. Exclamation YouTube in chat to get a link to those. It's like a 4.5 hour video essay. I don't know if I recommend the entire thing, but you know, if you want, it's there. And we may, in like a couple weeks, have a Silent Hill one. I'm just going through the rough cut, and we'll see.
Merengue is rapidly approaching your position.
Matt does such a good job with those edits. Oh my goodness.
I still had to reach Barry at the cabin, but at least I was out of the woods.
You're not out of the woods yet, though, Alan. but also you're literally out of the woods, but not like metaphorically out of the woods. Could I get a burger with an Alan shake? Oh my god.
4 hours? Who do you think you are? Bomber guy?
I don't put that much work into them. Man, I am kind of hungry though. I do want to go to like the Alan steak and Alan shake.
Narrating himself, or is the voice just something for the audience like a detective noir movie?
So, that's a pretty interesting question, Thallium. The inner monologue is a thing that started in Max Payne and kind of wound up staying here, right? A lot of Remedy's games keep that up. I think that a lot of the inner monologue we're getting is actually either this Alan's internal thoughts or the real Alan's writing about his internal thoughts. Because while we find pages of the manuscript here, these pages aren't complete, right? This isn't the entire manuscript. They're only a paragraph or two
I still
each.
haven't watched Fred's 6-hour video on EVE Online. It terrifies me.
It's very fun. Highly recommend. No worries, Lettuce. Have a good night. So, it's very possible that the inner monologues we're getting from Wake here are simply parts of the manuscript that we don't get to see, you know?
The FBI agent's command froze me in place. I considered surrender. It was all falling apart anyway.
Because it seems very similar to this.
Let someone else deal with it. But it felt all wrong. Call it instinct. His posture. The way he held the gun. He was no friend. Shots ringing in my ears, I leaped for the hole in the fence and stumbled into the darkness beyond.
Then again, we also get these internal monologues before Lake falls into the lake, before he starts writing. So maybe that's just how he is, honestly. Maybe it's a little simpler than that, and that's just how Alan thinks.
I had to find the key to the garage.
Okay. There we go. Shrimple is that?
A story is not a machine that does what you tell it. A story is a beast with a life of its own. You can create it, shape it, but as the story grows, it starts wanting things of its own. Change one thing and you set off a chain reaction of events that spreads through the whole thing. The characters have to be true to themselves. The events need to follow a logic that fits the story. A single flaw and the magic is gone. The story dies. Alice dies.
Is monologuing to oneself in your head like that not normal? There is an amount of internal monologue that is totally normal, I think. Alan's got, I would say, an above average amount. I would say just slightly above average in the amount that he's got going on. Oh, okay, here we go. Keys are in here? Rad. Hold down X to boost the lights. I'm boosted. So, this game, like I said a little bit earlier, was originally intended to be somewhat open world, where you could drive around Bright Falls. in order to visit different locations. They wound up not being able to completely do that. However, we still got driving sections in here. And they are fine. This is acceptable. I don't want to get out and get grab stuff. There's like things I could run out and grab there. I don't want to do that. Where am I supposed to go? I don't remember. Here are the headlights to the turbocharger so you could boost your high beams. I don't actually know how cars work, do you? It's quite Deadly Premonition, yes. Deadly Premonition is like what would happen if, instead of Remedy deciding, oh, we can't really capitalize on the driving sections and like the open world thing without just completely tanking the game feel and the frame rate and the graphical quality. If instead of making the compromises to keep those things, you just said, fuck it, let's do it anyway. You're like, I don't care if it runs 10 frames per second, just do it. I respect them both. I really like both of them. Who would win, Alan Wake or Johnny Premonition or whatever? His name is Francis York Morgan. Call him York, everyone does. And he would win. He's an FBI agent. Alan Wake is just some schlubby writer. That is true, no. Interesting. Mizurna Falls, PS1 game, which is also very much a Twin Peaks fan game. I have heard of it, and it got a fan translation somewhat recently, like a couple of months ago. That sounded really interesting, and I wanted to give it a shot.
Probably the best weapon I could imagine against the dark things I was facing.
The dark things. Yeah. Alright, they're just gonna throw a bunch of enemies at me now, aren't they? Tried playing it. It's I got lost and stuck. That sounds about right.
You son of
That's
a
about what I
bitch.
expected.
Where's my wife?
Enough horseplay, Wake. You deliver the manuscript, and you can have your woman back. Simple as that.
Shrimple as that.
Listen. I'm gonna need time to finish it. I still need to write the ending. I need a week.
It's not done?
I need a week.
2 days. The old Bright Falls coal mine is nearby. You can find it easy, city boy. The main building, there at noon. You bring the manuscript, you'll get your wife. If not, well, get me?
Yes, I get
Ron
you.
Rab, thank you so much for the follow, my fur and whiskers. How you doing? He gets him.
Barry had talked about birds over the phone.
Barry? Barry? Wow, what a mansion.
Ow! I am so glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them got in here before I blocked the chimney. This isn't normal. These birds...
Wow, you were almost a berry sandwich. Save Barry from the birds. Oh, jeez. Where did you all come from? That's like too many crows. Too many crows. Too many crows. Oh, I hope these aren't Chris's birds. It's a weapon. It's especially useful against flying things.
You can open the door now. They're gone.
Just casually lighting the cabin on fire with a flare gun. As far as I know, there isn't an escort mission in this game. At least I don't remember one.
I'm sorry for thinking you were having a psychotic episode, man.
Barry, it
I
happens.
sent Barry to the town to ask around about a man fitting the kidnapper's description. He'd go through the archives of the local paper. Perhaps he could learn something. Anything about the island and the cabin that had disappeared. The man wanted a manuscript. I had to try to write him one to get Alice back. For me, the supernatural had always been nothing but a metaphor for the human psyche, a tool to use in writing fiction. Now, it was happening for real, and I couldn't put a single word on paper.
Barry Wheeler speaking.
This is Rose.
Rose?
I found Mr. Wake's pages.
Oh, you sweet, brilliant girl.
Could you and Mr. Wake come get them? I live in the trailer park outside the town.
We'll be there in less than an hour. See you soon.
I forgot Psycho Mantis was in this game.
Hope you come back soon. Welcome to the
Oh Dear Diner.
Good girl.
This camera shot's really good. I wish more of the game was a little bit this and a little less wandering around in the woods. If that makes sense. Rose isn't an artist. How is the dark presence controlling Rose? So, two things. One of which is...
Okay, first of all, love that cinematography.
Mhm.
Second of all, how dare you do that to Rose?
Yeah. I see you like Super Mario Sunshine. So, two things going on here. One of which is Rose's dialogue is borrowing from herself as like a caricature, right? We know two things about Rose. She works at the Oh Dear Diner and she really likes Alan Wake. She needs to communicate the information. She needs to get Alan Wake to the trailer park by communicating the information that she found his pages, right? That's the barest minimum way to do it, right? But also the idea of art is something that we usually talk about, even in Alan Wake and Alan Wake 2, as being something related to music, photography, painting, poetry, writing. Like all of these things will appear in Alan Wake as art. But here's the thing. In Alan Wake 2, you wind up playing as a character who is a detective. That's like her thing, right? So she's got her own mind palace that you go into, and she's got like a cork board where you fill out aspects of the investigation. The dark presence is able to use that. But also, she's able to use that in the dark place to make those things real, because the investigation is her art form, if that makes sense. So what Rose does wouldn't necessarily be considered traditional art, but cooking sure is. Making coffee, that could be. The idea of what art is can be quite loose here. Also, yeah, Rose does write her own fan fiction, mostly about Alan. So, like, yeah, she is a little bit of a writer. And she writes plenty of things about her having a romantic relationship with Alan Wake, so, this game is interested in the ideas of art and labor, and what happens when you treat art as labor, but also the ways that labor can be art. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I think it's just kind of neat. Vega, thank you so much for the raid. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Scrangle. I think I know what you're talking about. The Dark Presence can't just move in and take over an artist, at least not simply. Doing so would impede its goals, because it needs their imagination and creativity, right? If the Dark Presence takes someone over, it drains them of that, because it doesn't have any of its own. It doesn't have any creativity. It doesn't have any imagination. It can't think that way. That's what it needs the artists for. So if it took over an artist, it couldn't just force them to write, because they wouldn't have anything in them.
Previously on Alan.
Again, I'm going to leave off on a previously on so that we can start next stream with the recap. It is a big ol' Eldritch entity, yeah. Just doesn't seem to be able to, even when its goal is being manifested through a different artist. I can understand that, yeah. Yeah. It must have to offer some kind of protection. Oh. So they can just repeat rote actions and phrases from their lives, and specifically from their work, their labor. And that's a thing that's going to be important later. I'm going to wait to talk about labor and capitalism when we get to, like, Hartman. Because I think that's where it's the strongest part of the story. But I do think it's worth talking about. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me and talking with me about Alan Wake, because I really, really, really like this game. I think it's really cool. Alan Wake 2 gave me such a better appreciation for how good this first one is. And also, I haven't gotten a chance to actually discuss it and dissect it and talk about it like I did with, like I've been doing with Silent Hill or Metal Gear Solid for, like, ages. I wrote college papers about Metal Gear Solid 2, you know? So I haven't had as much practice talking about Alan Wake. And so I really appreciate all the ideas that y'all come up with, because it really helps me to develop my own theories. It's good. I like ingesting more ideas. Before doing this stream, I watched, like, I watched a couple of video essays about this game, one of which was, I think from a channel called Games as Literature, and it was like a critical analysis of Alan Wake. It was from like 2017 or so. That one was pretty good. Pretty good. I think I liked that one. And...
Giving fun ideas, and tempered with my shenanigans.
Of course. And I also watched Sophie from Mars's video, Alan Wake, The Great American Nightmare, I think. That one's got a lot of interesting ideas. Didn't agree with everything in either of them, but this game is pretty dense. It's got a lot going on, I think. Lunar Bloodborne, thank you so much for the follow, my fur and whiskers. I know what we need to do. We need to go hang out with Liz. Oh. Also, you watched Twin Peaks? I did watch Twin Peaks. Yeah. I watched season 1 and 2 recently. I still haven't seen The Return yet, though. I think I need to do that before we play Alan Wake 2.